Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I want to talk about how every homestead, no matter how perfect they may seem, has its challenges. Now I did touch on some of this in a video I just did called Why Some People Give Up, but I wanted to kind of expand on this idea because I think a lot of times when we're watching other channels, and in most cases we're only going to show the things that are going really good for us. We're not always going to focus on the negative, and part of that is for a lot of us it's not so much that we're just trying to make you believe that life is perfect for us, but to keep it focused just on a more positive feel to everything, because we want to be encouraging. But regardless of the channel and how much they have and how much they do, we all have our own different challenges that we have to deal with. I've even seen people come in comments and act like they do every single tiny little thing from scratch and they grow every single tiny thing. We all have certain dependencies on outside sources, because unless you're going out and cutting down your trees and milling up the wood and then building the things totally from scratch, and you're not relying one tiny little bit on any kind of public power. I've never been dishonest about how we are. I've said right from the start, we are partially off grid. I have several videos. I know I have at least 2 of them that are titled Living Partially Off Grid, because I've never tried to make the claim that we live entirely off grid. We don't. We've through the years found and added more and more ways to live off grid to make us able to live off grid, but we still fall back on our public power. Even though we have solar power and other means to do things without power, we still fall back on our city water when needed, even though we have a pretty good rainwater catchment system and have for many years. We were blessed enough to come across a good deal on a wood mill some years ago, but Pat was hunting for one for years to find one that was within our price range, that even if it had minor issues, they would be things that he could repair himself, and to be able to be as self-sufficient as possible with that. But we would still have to rely on getting wood from someone, logs from someone else, because we don't have all that much wood on our other pieces. Well, our 6-acre piece we probably do, but on our 2 pieces right here, this one and the one down the road, no, we don't have that kind of wood, and we wouldn't want to cut down all those trees over there. So to, anyone who tries to make the claim that they're completely self-sufficient, they're not. There's something that they're depending on an outside source for. I don't care who they are or what they claim. Some people claim they grow everything, but I find that highly doubtful. Maybe there's people that are growing all their own fruits and vegetables, but are they raising all their own meat? Maybe there's people that are raising all their own meat, but are they growing all their own fruits and vegetables? Maybe there's people that are doing all that, but are they also growing wheat and sugar cane or non-GMO sugar beets, or keeping bees so they can have some kind of sugar source? I mean, there's always something we can be adding more to, or maybe we just simply can't do because of our space, because of where we live. Maybe they don't allow it, or whatever it is, whatever it is. So every place is going to have their challenges. And I wanted to just talk about a few of ours, just to kind of make sure you understand just how real we are and the real issues that we deal with. So if you're new to my channel, you might not know that originally on YouTube, just like on all my other sites like Instagram and Rumble and other places, I used to call it Rain Country Homestead, but YouTube was the first place I really started out on, and decided that not only did I just want to shorten the name, I also wanted to leave myself open to more topics than just any stuff that's homestead related. So I shortened it to Rain Country, but it's called that because we live in rain country. And a lot of people say, oh, you live in Washington or Oregon. Well, yes, we live in Washington, but even people who say that don't understand that the amount of rain we get, because for one, both Washington and Oregon have 2 sides, one side that is wet and one side that is dry. And where we live in Washington is wetter than any of the wet places of Washington and Oregon. And for example, Seattle, which is most known for rain, which to me seems silly now that I've been living here for 35, 36 years. Seattle only gets about a third of the amount of rain that we get because we just live a few miles away from a rainforest. In fact, we practically live in a rainforest. So we get on a low average 120 inches a year. When I first moved here years ago, the average was 144 inches a year. That was the average. We can get as much as 160 inches a year. So that should give you an idea. And I know a lot of the places that people consider wet in Oregon get about the same amount of rainfall as the Seattle and other surrounding areas. So with that much rain, obviously comes a lot of challenges to deal with, but we're not going to have the same challenges as people who live in a dry climate that have to be more concerned about wildfires and dust on every single thing around them. And then the water challenges, being able to know that you could constantly keep your gardens, give them the moisture they need when they need it. So here's the first thing, is because we decided to start right where we're at, which is where our house is that we're currently living in, and we've been living in since we got married 34 years ago, we're just in a shy 1/3 acre piece in a neighborhood. Thankfully, we have a corner lot, which means we have more that we could do as a result of that. And through the years, we just started kind of slowly building upon where we're at when we decided to start making ourselves a little more self-sufficient. So what started out many years ago as just growing a few tomatoes, then eventually blossomed into turning our whole backyard into a garden and a chicken area, and then eventually a front yard into a garden, or at least part of the front yard into a garden and also a chicken area to run at certain times of the year, not the full year. And then all the garden areas are that way. When things are growing, they're not allowed to be in they're made so they're fenced off from a lot of these garden areas, but still have plenty of room to run. And then we have fruit trees in our front yard as well. And then our side yard, we have a garden over there. We got the solar power and built on that little by little by little, adding just a little bit at a time as we could afford it. We eventually put in a rainwater system that we built ourselves. Same thing with solar. Patrick put all that together himself. And then the chicken coop, Patrick built that, and we added the chickens a little at a time. And so, but here's the challenge with that much rain. Back when we didn't have a backyard garden, and certainly didn't have dogs or chickens, we always had nice green grass, always all year round, nice green grass in the backyard. It's not like that anymore because, well, first of all, most of the backyard is garden areas, but then we have walkways. Well, guess what happens to the walkways when you're going back and forth all winter long when most of the rain is coming, especially from late winter through early spring is when we get most of the rain. And the chickens are walking in those same areas. Then the dogs are walking through the same area. We only have one dog, but we do twice a week. We have our son's dog as well. So they're all walking in those same areas. Guess what happens? It all turns to a big old mud hole. We still aren't sure we want to concrete all of that. It would be a really big job, and we're not sure we want something that permanent. We were able to get a hold of some grading that a friend of ours was just giving away, and we were able to put it in the worst areas, but there's still areas that get very, very muddy. So what that means is that just outside the chicken coop and all these walkway areas are not only mud holes, that means mud is getting tracked everywhere. Now, we take our shoes off just outside the door so that we're not tracking mud in the house. But we can't do that with the dog. So that means I've always got mud to clean up this time of year. And it a lot of times gets really discouraging. Constant dog prints on my floors and carpets, constantly. So I'm constantly cleaning up dog prints. And then you also have to deal with the rust that's caused. And you also have to deal with the rot that's caused. If you've got wood fences, even with treated wood, you have to worry about rot. And we a couple of years ago replaced the whole fence, Patrick did, and I think this should last much longer than the one previously, but everything was rotten out on that last one that he'd built quite a number of years ago. But this is just a common thing. decks and boards and stuff have to be replaced quite a bit because it's so much rain. No matter how much you treat this stuff, eventually it's still going to rot out. So aside from the rain itself, we have just constant cloud cover, it seems. Now you'll see a lot of pictures that I'll take on sunny days because that's when you can see everything the best. But we get a lot of cloud cover, and I would say we might get a total, if you add it all up, 3 to 4 months of sun through the whole entire year. Most of that's going to happen during the 3 months of summer. And thankfully we do have a dry-ish season, but even in the summertime, while we're trying to grow gardens, we can get so much cloud cover, and it's so cool that there's certain things that just simply will not grow well for us. And I've tried, and then some things I managed to find and get acclimated enough that they're happy with all the rain and the cloud cover. Some things just never do well, no matter how hard I try. So the dark days and all the rain also means that unless you're planting certain things in a covered area, you got to wait maybe a little longer than you could if I lived in a drier place to plant certain things, because if you plant too early in the spring, everything gets so saturated it rots before it can grow. I've had that happen many times with things like beans, peas, and even potatoes. And then, there's always going to be things, no matter how well put in place everything is, there's always going to be things that need to be repaired, no matter where you live. There's always going to be something that breaks down, and there's never this point where you reach I'm there, I've arrived. Never. No matter what people claim, no matter how they make themselves appear, there's no one channel or one commenter that has arrived and achieved all the skills and achieved all the items and put in all their infrastructure that never ever needs upkeep or to be repaired. Always going to be issues to deal with. You're going to have animals that get sick if you've got farm animals of any kind. I have chickens that are getting old, and some of them I notice are starting, even though they've been very healthy chickens for 5 to 7 years, because those are my older chickens, I'm noticing they're starting to have a few more issues. I don't know if some of the older ones will make it through this year, but I'm treating them, I'm taking care of them, I'm giving them my special chicken medication, which always seems to help. It's all natural, I make it myself. I have a video on that I'll link to down below. But then they do better and they seem great, then they get sick again. And I'm kind of thinking it has to do with them. I think it has to do with their age. But these are the hardships. These are some of the things you have to deal with. Sometimes it's just time to take an animal out and then replace them with new animals. And it's just life. It's not always pretty. It's not always glamorous. And no one person has it all together. I'm putting this out there because I'm just trying to be realistic with people. But like with our area, like I said, with the rain does have its benefits. That means because of all that rain, we can collect that rain and we can utilize it, and we don't have to worry as much about our gardens drying out. Though sometimes we do have some pretty dry summers. Like last summer was pretty dry. We even had some wildfires, which is kind of rare. And even had a scare where we thought the fire was going to burn through our neighborhood, but thankfully it was contained before then because the winds died down, and then the fire department and the DNR and everybody was able to get it contained. Thank the Lord, we were praying. But some other things I want to bring up, because wherever you are, usually anybody can find some wild items to forage, even if you can't grow a lot of things. On our other piece of property, there's all kinds of stuff that grows over there that we just go over there and get. We got horsetail, we get turkey tail, we get usnea, and there's salmon berries and blackberries, and we just recently planted some raspberries over there because we really want lots of raspberries. So we have some here. Now we've got some down there. We get spruce tips, and we can go out in the woods and gather chanterelles. And so we have, because of all the rain, we get all this great stuff. I mean, some of these items will grow in just about any area, but like the blackberries and the chanterelles, they love this rainy climate. But we can also grow a lot of great other perennials besides just berries. We can grow mints of all kinds and so much more. And, we definitely have the blessings of living where we are. But again, with those same blessings come challenges that we have to deal with. So again, wherever you are, I'm always trying to say this, just start where you are. Don't try to overwhelm yourself by taking on too much, and find what works for you, because it's not going to be the same as us, or the same as Danny and Wanda, or the same as Viking Preparedness, or the same as Zach over at an American Homestead, or whoever it is that you're following, or the same as Doug and Stacy. And you have to work in the area that you're at, and you have to start where you're at. I know there's a lot of people that are pushing people to move to this state or that state. It doesn't matter what state you move to. There's always going to be things that you're going to have to be concerned about. It could be the weather, it could be the politics, it could be possible natural disasters. I think every area has some kind of natural disaster they have to watch out for. It could be the challenges with the type of soil you have. So many different things. So the best thing to do, especially if you're just trying to get started, is start where you're at and learn what you can work with where you're at, and realize there will be challenges. It'll never be perfect. There always will be ways that you can improve on what you have, and just learn how to do that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please check out the other videos. In fact, what I'll do is I'll link to the full playlist called Encouragement, so that hopefully, if you're just kind of feeling the doldrums, we all go through it. Hopefully you can go through these videos and you'll help find encouragement in there. And if you need any videos on how to just kind of get started in some of this, I do have a few of those too. I'll link to a couple of those in the description box as well. So don't forget to click on either more or show more somewhere down here below the video screen. If you don't see it, keep scrolling until you see it. More or show more. It's kind of small. Click on that. Open the description box, find all our links, and please share in comments down below any advice, any tips, any suggestions, or any of your own challenges that you have to deal with, because I think it's important that people not only see that there's good, but they see that everybody has to deal with something. And that will make them not feel so much like a failure when they're dealing with their own issues. Like I always feel every year this time of year when I see all these mud holes and they're driving me crazy, it just makes me feel like a failure. But in the middle of summer, things are beautiful and dry and wonderful, and I've got stuff coming in that I can harvest, and I love it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.